بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الذكر جلاء للقلوب تسمع به بعد الوقرة وتبصر به بعد العسوة وتنقاد به بعد المعاندة. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد الأنام خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. Praise be to Allah who has made His remembrance the light for the heart, to hear after deafness and to see after blindness and to submit after arrogance. We greet the most noble of all creation and the most select of all prophets, our own holy prophet and his infallible family. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the sixth night or the sixth program of this year's Ramadan, Shahr Ramadan, month of Ramadan, from the Islamic Center of America. I pray that you are all staying in, keeping safe, and also I pray that, inshallah, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will have a blessed month despite the challenge that we are facing. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful, when the help of God and the victory comes, and you see people embrace the religion of God in multitude, praise the glory of your Lord while expressing gratitude to Him and seek His forgiveness. Indeed, He is ever disposed to mercy. This is chapter 110, Surah An-Nasr, that we are going to deal, or at least briefly talk about it. I start with the usual recap of the major points that we talked about last night, in case people would like to follow up and they haven't been able to do it last night. I started by presenting a point which is more of a sociology of religion, particularly in the academic, when they are talking about cults, reformers, etc., etc. They pose a question: why is it that cult leaders, reformers, and even revolutionary leaders are challenged by certain class of their own society? That language can be seen and the concept to apply in faith and religion as well. We have similar kind of language this talking about the challenges that messengers and the prophets had to go through and deal with in the light of the message or the mission that they have. To point out as some kind of intro to the discussion, I recited a verse from the Holy Quran that clearly talked about the whole principle under which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send messengers. Which is, number one, that the messengers are sent when the society gets morally corrupted and dysfunctional, and hence the necessary guidance that they need, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to them. And so by default, by reverse relationship, the more dysfunctional the society, the more urgent the need for the sending of the messengers. But this, I explained last night, automatically, inherently contain within it some kind of a challenge. And the challenge is that any corrupt society, there are individuals that have vested interest, invested in the continuation of the status quo within the society. They don't want any change. Why? Because change is going to disturb their own position, power, and prestige. On the other hand, and these are the ones that normally label or designate some kind of negative labels, or give negative designation to the prophets. We see Pharaoh, for example, with regard to Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Literally, what he called him, I discussed this last night, he called Musa to be subversive, out of line. He wants to destroy balance within the society, way of life to be disturbed. We see similar kind of approach being taken by Namrud with regard to Prophet Ibrahim. And similar kind of thing happened with regard to Prophet Isa. He saw the challenge where the corruption taking place from within the temple. The temple that was supposed to be the refuge for the poor and the marginalized has become the cause of unequal distribution and inequity within the life. So this, and then the Prophet Isa went after the temple. Naturally, those who had an invested interest in it stood up, led to confrontation. In the case of the Holy Prophet, I pointed out, similar kind of tension existed, because Quraysh and idol worshipping and keeping of idols had invested too much power, wealth, and prestige in the idols and their services in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Kaaba. And they were not prepared to let go of anything or any messages or any messenger that would come that says that they want to reject the status quo and go against it. Again, I pointed out that in the context of Quraysh, three individuals name as unholy trio that came out constantly: Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, and Abu Sufyan. And all of these three were major stakeholders within the continuation of idol worshipping and the presence of idol within the society. Now, the son of Abdullah, as they used to call him, has come and wants to destroy our way of life, our blessed way of life. The Battle of Badr, the year 2 after Hijrah, saw the end of Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab. Abu Sufyan remained and went back to Mecca to continue with his tricks and getting people against the Holy Prophet and Medina as a base for power. This chapter comes to give hope to the Holy Prophet that victory is going to come. But at the same time, it contains within it a number of concepts that threads or links this chapter to the previous verses or passages or even chapters in the Holy Quran. Number one, that there is a divine promise that victory is coming. And this is why adat al-shart, as they say in Arabic literature, that means a certainty. Either. It means for sure. It's not going, there is nothing to it. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. It's going to happen. There is no nothing no shak or no doubt about it. It's going to happen. And number two, the victory, since it is Allah's victory, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who decides when and under what condition this victory has to come. Number three, directs the Prophet and naturally those who submit to the command of Allah, what should they do when the victory comes? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Once you see the victory and you see the people coming towards Islam to embrace the new religion, your role as the true believers is to submit. And we explain this as we go around. And part of this prediction that the victory is going to come, we have seen it. This prediction falls within a category of what we call mu'jiza, or predicting the future, what's going to happen. Previously, before this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with regard to the Romans, have predicted similar kind of things. After they were defeated by the Persians, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومِ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدَ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ. That they were defeated, but soon they are going to be victorious and triumphant. So this and it happened within a year or two, this happened with regard to the Romans. And then the most critical issue here is what the true believer should do. When it comes, the true believer, when comes before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even the greatest victory has to be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And believer is expected to turn to Allah and submit. And we have a number of other verses and chapters that this kind of idea is being presented with regard to Prophet Yusuf, with regard to Prophet Sulaiman, as well as with the Holy Prophet. Prophet Yusuf, after the final victory, when the brothers and sisters came before His Majesty, and the parents came to sit with him on the seat of power, what did he say? Ya abata hadha ta'wilu ru'yaya min qabl. This is indeed my dream that I had many years ago. This is now the dream is fulfilled. And then instead of saying, well, it is my role, it is something that I did, it is my patience, it was somehow my play that ultimately lead to this, immediately removes the ego. No self, no power, no visible position or anything else. Rabbi attributes the whole thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. رَبَّ قَدْ آتَيْتَنِي مِنَ الْمُلْكِ وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ أَنْتَ وَلِيِّي فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. You are the source. You are the real. You gave me the power. You gave me the knowledge. So I beg of you to protect me, to stay on the right path, that I will be among the true believers. So here we see that Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam immediately attributes the whole victory and the whole unpacking of the story, and the fact that he was saved, and ultimately he and his father and mother and the rest of the brothers came together to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see similar kind of approach taken by Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. Remember, if you read the story of Sulaiman, when the queen of Sheba, when Hudhud came and said that there is a community in somewhere, without identifying it, that they have a queen, but they worship the sun. Sulaiman sent a letter to the queen, إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is a letter from Sulaiman, and I'm sending it to you, so you should come accepting the faith that I have, embracing the faith that I declare. Then the queen is going to test where this letter, the source of the letter. Is it a trickster? Is it somebody that wants power? Somebody wants wealth? Well, we are going to send a present to this person and see how he reacts. When the present arrives, he sends a letter back. Are you going to respond to me by your meager presents? What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me far exceeds what you have. If it's necessary, I will send an army that will leave nothing for you. But at the same time, to stop shedding of blood, he asks people that are around him, call him the disciple or the ministers around him, who can bring me the arsh, the center of her power? Ifritun min al-jinn says that I can bring that arsh and seat of power before you stand up. Another one said that I can bring that seat of power before you blink. And the seat was there. What did the Prophet Sulaiman do? فَلَمَّا رَآهُ مُسْتَقَرًّا عِنْدَهُ قَالَ هَذَا مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي. Immediately turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, this is Allah's blessing. مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي لِيَبْلُوَنِي أَأَشْكُرْ أَمْ أَكْفُرْ. He's testing me to see whether I'm grateful or ungrateful. Here, again, we see that the prophets, the notion that even at the time of greatest victory, the greatest benefit, the true believer turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, removing himself or herself from the equation and only attributing the whole thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has been a thread that goes through a number of passages and chapters in the past. So the glad tiding of a decisive help pervades this Surah An-Nasr, that ultimately this Nasr and the victory is going to come. Mecca will be liberated, and people will embrace the religion, and the prophetic mission is going to come to an end once the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cleansed from all idol, to become the symbol of Tawheed for the Muslim community and possibly for the world. Unfortunately, it was so until the Wahhabis came. That's a different story that we have to deal with. Now let's start with Surah Al-Tawheed. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. When the help of God and victory comes. An emphatic and specific way to state that help is coming. And it is inevitable. The victory is promised. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said it repeatedly in verses in the Holy Quran. كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَأَغْلِبَنَّ أَنَا وَرُسُلِي. The final victory is for Allah and the messengers of Allah. Remember a few nights ago when I was talking about haqq and batil? There is a hadith that says, إِنَّ لِلْحَقِّ دَوْلَةً وَلِلْبَاطِلِ جَوْلَةً. Falsehood is not permanent. It is time limited and comes and ultimately has to go. What stays permanently is haqq. كتب الله لأغلبن أنا ورسلي. Ultimate victory is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the notion of this emphatic victory and the Nasr has been given in before in Surah As-Saf, which 61 verse 13. وأخرى تحبونها نصر من الله وفتح قريب. Again, another prediction that is going to come. Allah will give you another victory that is very close and soon, the one that you love. So this is the first verse, clearly indicates that this verse was revealed before the victory in Mecca. Now there is a debate whether it was in Mecca itself or whether it was in Medina. Those, if you remember a few nights ago when we were talking about the coherence of the Quran, and those who said that there is the seven outlining of the seven group, when they get to this verse, they say it's Medina, but it is coupled and paired with other surahs and chapters and passages in the Mecca series. So that's what they state. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. This is the most important message. The most prominent feature of this verse is to remind the Holy Prophet and the true believers that victory will come, which opens the gate for people to come and embrace Islam. And it did happen. And last night I briefly talked about it. The Arab tribe mentality would look to the greater powers and the more numerous tribes and stronger tribes and would not do anything if they are not subdued. This is why they used to say, let's wait. If Muhammad overcomes and neutralizes his own powerful clans and tribes, then he is a prophet, then we have to go to. And the victory in Mecca opened the door for the Holy Prophet. This is the most prominent issue and feature of the verse, that ultimately people are going to embrace Islam once Mecca is controlled and Quraysh, particularly Abu Sufyan and Bani Umayyah, are subdued and neutralized. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Praise His glory while expressing gratitude to Him and seek forgiveness. Indeed, He is ever disposed to mercy. I want now to move, the verse is this chapter finished, Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. I want to go to the story of Fath Makkah. How did that happen? A few years or a year or so before Fath Makkah, which happened on some people say the 20th or the 21st of Ramadan, year 8th after Hijrah. The Holy Prophet decided to go to Mecca with his group, with his disciples, for not either pilgrimage or Umrah. But the Quraysh and the Mushrikeen of Mecca would not allow that to happen. Although the Ashhur al-Hurum was supposed to be an open month for anybody who wanted to come and visit and do Hajj or pilgrimage. But specifically, they would not allow the Holy Prophet. Some kind of an agreement was reached that this year the Holy Prophet goes back, and then next year he comes back. But within the agreement, which is called Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, it was agreed that the Quraysh during this period would not bother or hurt or harm any of the small tribes that have somehow link and association with the Holy Prophet. Unfortunately, like everything else, these arrogant individuals, they decided to go against that agreement and to harass these small tribes. The small tribe leaders went to the Holy Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, it was part of the contract, but we are being constantly harassed by Quraysh of Mecca and particularly Abu Sufyan and Bani Umayyah. So the Holy Prophet decided that time has come for Mecca to be neutralized. and Quraysh and Bani Umayyah in particular to be removed from power. The master tactician, if one could put it this way, for the best use of a better word, wanted to do it in a particular manner that would save life, and the element of surprise would be kept. So the whole plan for the victory in Mecca unpacked itself into, the Holy Prophet unpacked it into 3 phases. Phase number 1, which was the initial phase. During this phase, collecting information about Mecca, preparing the necessary military force, waiting for the right moment by Allah's guidance. But particularly important was this information blackout. Literally for 2 months, no information went into Mecca, and the Holy Prophet would not allow any information to come out. Why? Because Quraysh suddenly finds itself with the army well trained and well equipped at the gate of Mecca, and has no other alternative but to accept. And that's exactly what happened. So information, and it would prevent bloodshed as well. The Holy Prophet decided that the time was right on the 10th of Ramadan, year 8 after Hijrah. And with some people say 10,000 well-equipped, some people say more army, moved towards Mecca. The distance was covered within 10 days. So around the 20th of Ramadan, year 8 after Hijrah, this was the time when the Holy Prophet got to or finally reached the desert around Mecca and settled. The same night, to create fear in the heart of the Mecca people, he commanded his people and troop to light huge fire literally around the city. They have never seen such a thing in their life. So, frightened and terrified by the scene, people of Mecca came out to see what was going on. In front of them was Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan comes forward and meets Abbas, the uncle of the Holy Prophet, who advised him that your time is up and the Holy Prophet is coming in and you cannot stand up to him. He has well-equipped and trained army. Abu Sufyan says, what can I do? Let's go to the Holy Prophet. They go and meet him. You see, this is the humiliation that in last chapter, last night, 111, was given to Abu Lahab. Abu Sufyan, that used to call himself Ana Rabbukum al-A'la in Quraysh, had no other alternative but to say Shahada. But historical fact clearly prove this. Abu Sufyan never accepted Islam truly. He said Shahadatain to protect his neck from being killed. Because later on, during Uthman's time, and when Bani Umayyah is in charge, he comes up with the plan, and he clearly says that. So he accepts Shahadatain and goes back to Mecca, informing the people next morning that the Holy Prophet is coming, or Muhammad is coming, and you have no other alternative but to accept Islam. There are only 3 places that are safe for the people of Mecca. To pacify him, one of them was his own house. Anybody who goes to Abu Sufyan's house or Kaaba or stays inside their own houses, they are protected. Anybody else that comes out is considered to be an enemy. The Holy Prophet moves early in that morning of the 20th or the 21st to a place, an elevated place overlooking the city. There is a significance in this particular place, the Tawa. It's a hillside. In his escape from Mecca, the Holy Prophet stood on the same hill. glancing at the city, tears coming down his face, and saying, "Oh, my town, Allah is a witness that I'm leaving you because not willingly. I have to go to protect myself. It's Allah's command." Now, 8 years later, or close to 8 years later, he stands on the same hill, the city laid down in front of him. What does he do? You see, the point that I raised in the surah, فَسَبِّحْ بَحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ, immediately he prostrates and puts his forehead on the saddle of the camel and says, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, wahdahu wahdah, sadaqa wa'dah, nasara abdah, wa'azza jundah, wa hazama al-ahzaba wahdah. Everything is Allah's, and He has no role to play within it. He alone is the one who protected His servant. He stood by His promise, supported His servant, honored His soldiers, and ultimately defeated the enemy. The Holy Prophet descends, goes into Mecca, straight towards Kaaba, to cleanse the house. And isn't it strange, again symbolic, that the person, there were some idols too high for the Holy Prophet to be able to remove them. He asked Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib to go on his shoulder and go up and remove these big idols that are there. This is the symbolic nature. The cleansing of the house has to be done by the person that was born in it. And only a few years later, the same person has to be martyred in the mihrab facing Kaaba. That showed how much Islam had changed from the Prophet's time to when Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred. The idols were removed. The house of worship that was constructed and built by Prophet Ibrahim to be the symbol of Tawheed and unity, and Prophet Ismail, was returned to its own glory and the place that it should be. But most important, as I said, the most significant feature is what happened next. Once Quraysh and these big clans were neutralized and victory over Mecca was complete, other tribes began to realize that what he claims is to be true. Even Abu Sufyan, in that last minute before he said Shahadatain, told Abbas, if my idols were true, I would not have been in this position. If my gods of my idols were true, I would not have been in this position. So Surah An-Nasr not only promised victory, ultimate victory, and the completion of the message and the completion of his prophethood, there remained one more issue. But a few years later, the Holy Prophet completed. This message, the 23 years period of the life of the Holy Prophet, was not enough to protect the message. This message needs somebody of close enough caliber to the Holy Prophet to be the guide of it and be in charge. And that's Eid al-Ghadir, Ghadir Khum. This is why Allah, after that gathering, Al-Yawm Akmaltu Lakum. Now, Quraysh is pacified. People are coming to Islam, and the Holy Prophet's life is over. We really need somebody to be able to guide this ship to the right path. Otherwise, it will change its direction as it happened immediately after the Holy Prophet. Let me stop here and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the blessing and the privilege to be able to fast this month, inshallah. As we do it every night, we ask Allah I ask and pray to Allah that everyone stays in and remains safe and sound during this month. But yet, we shouldn't forget the sacrifice and the work that other people within our community, irrespective of what, where, how, where, and what background they have, there are a huge number of people that our safety depends on them. And we owe them debts of gratitude. So let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them, to save them, and to guide them to the right path, inshallah. And please remember everyone else in your prayers. Thank you very much for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.